County and city leaders from around the state have insisted that if a property tax cap is not accompanied by mandate relief, it will lead to a financial crisis for governments dealing with ever-rising personnel and pension costs. But Governor Cuomo has not included mandate relief in his top policy to-do list, saying that a tax cap must come first and mandate relief will be following sometime down the road. Now, as he hit the hustings for the governor's People First tour this week, Lieutenant Governor Bob Duffy accused county executives of crying wolf, suggesting that they could actually lower their spending without mandate relief from the state. Here to respond to that suggestion is Oneida County Executive Anthony Picente. Tony, thanks very much for your time. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Okay, so let me just read exactly what the Lieutenant Governor said, okay? What he said is, for the chief executives of the county, look at spending first. Look at your own spending first. This is the first step, and the mandate relief will come. What do you make of that?
Well, first off, let me say that we're all for a property tax cap. I'm a property owner as well, and I want my taxes capped. And we understand in upstate New York what taxes are doing throughout all levels of government
Sure.
and to our economy. So we're for that, but we realize that it has to come with mandate relief. And the Lieutenant Governor's statements are wrong in the point of we have cut our spending. I mean, in Oneida County alone, over the past 4 years, we've reduced the workforce by over 200 employees. We had to make tough decisions like laying off people last year. We've restructured government. We cut spending. But at the end of the day, Liz, 10 cents of every dollar of my budget is all that I have to control.
Right.
90% of that budget is mandated by the state of New York.
So do you not
And so
think,
when he says...
Go ahead. When he says...
So when he says we have to look at our spending, we have been looking at spending. And as we've been cutting our spending, they've been raising theirs.
Yeah.
Just a few years ago, it was 83%. Now it's 90% of our budget.
Do you think, though, there is any room left at all in your budget? How much is your budget, anyway?
Just shy of $360 million.
Okay. Do you think anywhere in there is any room left at all for cutting? Or are you cut so far down now that you just can't cut anymore? I mean, everyone must be able to improve, right, at some point?
Well, I mean, we have, but when we're getting to the point where what do we cut next? And what is in that 10%? And what's in that 10% is roads and bridges and repair, programs for seniors, nutrition meals, our community college, our libraries, the things that we'd like to do as a county, and things that we provide as a benefit to our taxpayers for all that they're paying, aside from the 90% that's mandated that includes Medicaid and a jail.
Okay, but when was the last time that you had a tax increase?
We've had a tax increase the last few years.
Okay, because see, what the Lieutenant Governor is suggesting is that he's hearing a lot of, quote, excuses, and then saying, well, you got a lot of people who are dropping taxes, right, and then blaming someone else, saying, oh, the state is making us, poor, when they don't want to go to their constituents, and not you, of course, because obviously you're raising taxes, you've said. But they've said...
minimally.
Yeah, okay, but they say that they don't want to go to constituents because it's hard to go to the constituents and say, I'd like you to pay more, oh, and please re-elect me. That's a difficult thing to do.
Well, it is, but we've had to make tough decisions here, and it's not, and I have an election as well this year, but I face the reality of that budget that tells me that, first of all, my fund balance is depleting. We've been using excessive amounts each year to keep the tax base, the tax increases lower. We've been doing that. We've been restructuring government, as I said. We've been reducing the workforce. We've been consolidating departments and functions. We have been doing that. So I do take a little offense to the Lieutenant Governor's comments in terms of saying you got to look at the whole picture here. And we have been doing that, especially when the numbers tell the truth. In terms of that.
Do you actually trust the administration when the administration says, look, we understand that mandate relief is necessary. Mandate relief is hard. It requires things, as I've discussed on this show many times with various different people, pension reform, which is very difficult because the state workers unions and other employees unions don't like it. For example, the Triborough Amendment needs to be addressed, Taylor Law, these are tough things to do. So they say, look, it's going to take time, counties, municipalities, you got to trust us, we're going to get it done. In the meantime, we should use the cap to force a discussion about our, quote, spending addiction. Do you trust the administration?
Well, I can't, only because we haven't seen any mandate relief at this point. And with all due respect to the Lieutenant Governor and his comments the other day, the state still needs to get their house in order. I was on this program several times last year, Liz, and since, talking about how behind the state is in paying their bills.
You stopped paying your Medicaid bills, if I remember correctly.
I did, and I may have to do that again, because right now, as I sit here, the state is again nearly $30 million behind in reimbursements to Oneida County.
Interesting.
So the state has to get their act together too. And so to look at us and to look at the counties that are the agent of the state, we run the state's programs, 90% of the budget. It's not a made-up number. It's a fact that 90 cents of every dollar goes back to these programs that the state tells us we have to run. So when they say we have to look at our own spending, what am I going to be left with in terms of that 10 cents on a dollar? Not very much.
Well,
and that's when it's going to hurt people.
Sure. I mean, well, here's the thing, though. I mean, look, let's be fair. The Cuomo administration has only been in since January, and mandate relief is something that we've been talking about at various different levels in various different ways for years. So you could say, let's give them a chance. The governor has created a mandate relief task force, and I'm sure he says that this is important. The first report coming out of that body was roundly criticized for not doing a lot and not taking on the very difficult decisions. You know, you've got a colleague down in Westchester. He's a Republican, like you are, Rob Astorino. He put out a web video today, and he basically said he would trust Tony Soprano, that fictional mob boss from the HBO special, more than he would trust the state to do mandate relief. I mean, is that something, would you go that far? I'm not asking you necessarily to endorse that. I just wonder if you would go that far.
I don't know that I go that far, but you have to look at what has been done so far, and really nothing has. They put together commissions or task forces or committees that really did not restructure any of the mandates that we're being crushed by in county governments. And in terms of that, this is not a Republican or a Democrat issue. This is about running local governments and running a county government for which we are responsible for the state's programs. But you have to look at the whole picture in terms of that and say, where are they looking at the mandates, and why do the mandates have to come secondary? The point is Medicaid, 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 Medicaid. How many times on this program, Liz, has other county executives, other local officials, state representatives talked about Medicaid? But what have they done? I think they need to focus in one area rather than looking at the broad brush stroke of mandates. There's so many of them. There's a multitude of them. No, you can't fix them in the 5 months of a new administration, nor can you fix them in the first 2 years. But you could start to tackle a couple of the easier ones that are really the crushing burden. Look at Medicaid. Do some real reform that impacts property taxes.
Okay. Well,
that's where the numbers are.
County Executive Picente, unfortunately, we're out of time. However, when you decide to hold back that Medicaid money, we want you to contact us and let us know.
Well, that may be very soon if we don't get paid again, Liz.
Okay. Well, keep us posted. I want to thank you very much for making time for us this evening. Thanks.
No, thank you very much.